So, in the last two videos of this series, I, for lack of a better term, and excuse my curtness in saying this, have talked shit about social media. In the first one, I was talking about how social media, literally kills you if you upload content, in a metaphorical sense, but still, I mean, the word kill, invoking that word at all is pretty crazy. And in the last one yesterday, I talked about how basically social media has led to the idea of passion itself being bastardized, right? Not the most flattering look for social media. Zuckerberg, I'm sorry. It's not the most flattering look. But I want to, I think it's so interesting how in recent times, kind of feels like the last year or so, I don't know if you guys will remember, but around a year ago, when a little more than a year, or a little less than a year, but about a year ago, after the last election, when a million think pieces got written on how this was the first ever podcast election, that whole thing happened. I feel like around then was when social media went from being treated well, someday, maybe YouTubers are making money now, being treated from a thing that nobody, it was I don't know, how was it treated, man? I can't even remember now. It feels so distant because nowadays it feels like social media is almost entirely treated like just a force of nature, right? Social media as a concept is now treated as though this is just the way it's a mundane thing that we don't question, right? There are certain things that are so ingrained in our daily lives that we just take these things for granted, right? Sidewalks, right? We never think of are sidewalks as a concept a good thing or a bad thing, right? And I'm not saying nobody's discussing social media asking as if it is a good thing or a bad thing. I think people still really are. That's what we're going to do here today. But concepts reach a certain level where they stop getting discussed as concepts and just things that now are ingrained in daily life. And social media reached that, I think. That was a very long-winded way of saying that, where I tried to nonchalantly pull paints out of the bucket as if that's not a really heavy bucket. Let me know how I did. Was that nonchalant for you guys? I don't know if that was nonchalant or not. I hope it was. But the point is, social media, in the most long-winded way possible, I'm trying to say social media is now a force of nature, right? It is as inevitable and as all-encompassing as hurricanes and as the wind. And I've never seen a tornado, knock on wood that I never have to, but it's a tornado. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy that we're here because this is a really new thing. I'm a young guy and I even remember when social media was in infancy. I don't even know, do people still do this? Let me know if you guys are younger than me, let me know if you still do this. When I was 6, no, would have been older than 6. I don't think Instagram was around when I was 6. Definitely older than 6. I had to beg my dad to let me on Instagram. When I was 8, I wrote an essay. I had to write a whole essay, 4 pages, which was a lot when you're 8, begging my dad to let me get a YouTube account, to let me sign into a YouTube account. And I remember sitting up so excited the night before because I was finally gonna be able to make a video on my Batman Funko Pop. I feel one, I fear that I'm dating myself, which is crazy to say because I'm obviously not older than 25. And 2, that's just crazy to me. That's a crazy thing that exists in the same world where now, social media is everything. It is literally everything. And there was an era where I remember on YouTube and stuff, when I would tell my parents about it, when I'd be oh my God, can I please get a YouTube account? The assumption was just everybody's trying to kill you there, right? Every single person on the internet is somebody who is a man who is trying to take you into some sort of dungeon and, you're done. You're done. The second you make a YouTube account and comment on a video, you die. That was the whole assumption that I was put under when I was a kid. And that assumption's gone now, right? It's crazy how gone that assumption is, how insane of an idea that is these days, right? Because it's all encompassing now. There is no such thing as a space that is untouched by social media. And for that reason, I think it's important to discuss these ideas like, is this a net good or a net bad? Like, and this is the weird thing, right? This is always such a weird topic to broach because I'm on social media, I'm doing these videos. And I always feel like a hypocrite when I make these videos because I try to do something good with these, right? I do try and do something nice. I hope that if, let's say, there's a hypothetical person out there that watches one of these a day for the next year, they are going to somehow be better off than before, right? Maybe it's because they paint alongside me and now they're better at painting. Probably much better at painting than I am. I just started with the brightest yellow in the palette. That's not what you're supposed to do. But, you know, like I like to hope that what I'm doing, at least as in my content, on an individual level, is something of a net good, right, for the lives of the people watching it. Because I think that's what we forget, right? We see content as such a like, once again, as a force of nature. I'm going to use that word a ton in this video. It's such a force of nature at this point that, like, we don't even consider that it's just real people watching this stuff, right? Like, everything's a number now. How many, you know what I hate? I hate the style of content advice or of YouTuber whose sole goal is to optimize. Like this idea of like, okay, you want the best hook you can, then you want to go into the value prop right away, and then you want to try and convince people to stay till the end. And it's like, that's so crazy to me. Do you get more views that? I'm sure you get more views that way. But like, that's so insane. As if people are like mindless animals that we're trying to just like trick into like, watch long enough so I can serve you 3 mid-roll ads today. It's crazy to me. It's crazy that we're here, right? And I think because of that, it's so important to remember that there are people watching these things. There are individuals. Everything at the end of the day is made for an individual person to watch with a unique life, a unique set of circumstances. Maybe they'll fall into a very similar demographic to the rest of your viewers. Maybe they won't. You know, I don't know how that stuff works. And I think we forget that. And that's, for that reason, I think it's so important to ask the question of like, can you, I think this is a good place to start, maybe because I can relate to this personally, can you on an individual level do good with content? I'm inclined to say yes, right? Because if the answer is no to that question, then that means social media is a net bad. Like that means that social media is objectively a net bad, right? The same way that like we know a system is bad when no person within that system can do good, right? Like there's no way to be a good mafia boss versus a bad one, right? Like there's some things that are like okay, the entire system is just like, if you're in the mafia, you're perpetuating bad things, right? Is being a content creator the same way? And this is something I genuinely do grapple with. If you caught me on a more pessimistic day than today, I'd probably say yes to that question, you know? So that's an important question to start with. Is there a way to, on an individual level, do good with this content shit, right? And I think there is. I think there's a way to do it. I think there are. And the reason I think that is not because I think I'm doing good, even though I do hope that I am, right? I don't think that's up for me to decide, but more so because I have watched people who have done good for me, right? I've watched people who have educated me on things, for example. Like I've watched creators who helped me understand like economics, and back when I was in school, I used different creators to like educate me for tests and stuff like that. Like I've learned things solely through the internet, right? And for that reason, I'm inclined to go like, oh yeah, like there is, even if it's like there's a lot of bad, I think there is a net good, right? So that means that we can make one very important conclusion right off the bat in this whole discussion. Even if social media is not a net good, there is a good way to use social media. There is a way to get social media that derives you positive value out of your life. I think that's a really important conclusion to come to. I know that's kind of a word salad, but like the way that you can on an individual level still do good with social media proves that it might not all be bad, right? Because like cigarettes, we know those are net bad. There's no way to healthily smoke a cigarette, right? Like dark chocolate or chocolate, right? We can be like, chocolate, not the best for you, but a piece of dark chocolate gets like, what's in dark chocolate? Like iron or something like that, right? Like we can be like, okay, that's like, there are good things in chocolate. There is a good way to consume chocolate, right? That's why we don't consider chocolate to be bad. There's no healthy way to consume cigarettes. That's why we go, yeah, no, cigarettes are bad things, right? I believe like, is it like a glass of red wine can be healthy for you or something? I don't know, some bullshit I heard about that. But like, we don't call all alcohol to be the devil and the worst thing ever. We understand there's an unhealthy way to do that, right? I think social media might be similar to these things. I think that chocolate comparison's a really good one for social media. Because, like, it feels so much like candy. Does that make sense? Am I crazy for thinking that like social media feels a lot like how you were told to treat candy when you were a kid, of like, don't have too much, you'll have a stomach ache, except like it's way worse, because a stomach ache, like, one, if you didn't have a stomach ache as a kid, you weren't really living, right? Like that kid that we all knew when we were a kid that was like way too cautious about his sweets, that kid's probably like a terrible person now. Like he's probably like, yeah, no, I don't like that guy, right? So tummy aches are real. Like that's a real thing right there. But on the other hand, the tummy ache you get from doom scrolling from social media is like, it's like a mental tummy ache, which is not the same thing. Like a tummy ache is like, oh, I'm sitting here for 15 minutes, like a brain freeze. Like it's like, this sucks. Let me lay down for 10 minutes. Tummy ache from social media is like you want to die or whatever, right? Like much worse. These are not equivocal things, right? And I think for that reason, I'm motivated to like be like, that's a terrible way of looking at this. I don't know if that's exactly a productive way to look at it, but I think that, there's a angle we take this conversation in which we come back with just a circular sort of conclusion, right? Like now we started this video being like social media is such a force of nature now. You know what else is a force of nature? Chocolate, right? Chocolate is a force of nature, right? We look at chocolate as just a normal thing. If I asked you the question, is chocolate a net bad or a net good? You would go, one, what the fuck are you talking about? And then two, no, it's just chocolate. Like it's just chocolate, right? Is social media the same way? Is social media, to use this weird terminology, just chocolate? Like is it just kind of a thing? Like we don't, the same way that it'd be weird to look and have a conversation about the net good or net bad impact of chocolate, it's weird to do that for social media. That's because chocolate's a force of nature, right? In the terms we're kind of referring to that idea of a force of nature, right? So for that reason, I have to ask, is social media just a thing? Is it not bad or good? I feel like the answer is probably yes. Like I feel like this is probably where, I feel like this moment right here, right, is the closest we're going to get to an answer to this question. Is social media net bad or net good? Right? I do think that that's true. However, it's also kind of a cop-out, is it not? Like if because that's a non-answer. It's the closest we'll get to an answer, but it's also a non-answer of like social media just is. Like, yeah, no shit, buddy. Like everybody knows social media just is. I feel like I'm cursing a lot this episode. I don't really like that. It's probably this hat. But I don't like that answer. I don't think social media just is. Obviously, cause like chocolate, it's kind of been around for hundreds of years. Like, yeah, some bad stuff happened when we first discovered chocolate, I think, right? Like, I don't know, didn't like sailors discover it and did what sailors were doing back then, where they were like, we're just gonna like do a bunch of stuff. I went to the Lindt factory in Switzerland, and they have a room where they show you the history of chocolate, like around the world, and they have like I don't know is it the Mayans or the Aztec that discovered chocolate? I think it was the Mayans that discovered chocolate. Like the Mayans discovered chocolate, and then there's like the Dutch or the Spaniards that came over on ships and were like, oh, you guys got this chocolate stuff, this is neat. And then they just had a big black square and showed, and then in the next panel it was like, and the Dutch went home happily ever after with all the chocolate. Lindt, how'd they get that chocolate? I know it wasn't good. I know what happened back then wasn't good, Lindt. And I don't know why you're trying to hide it. Like I don't know why. Was the black square like in some sort of like mourning? Like it was weird. It was a really weird experience. And speaking of tummy aches, I got a really bad tummy ache that day. They just, I don't know why I'm telling the story on the internet. They had a chocolate fountain and I lost control of the chocolate fountain. It was really bad. But now that I've said that, moving on, we understand though, even though chocolate started that way of really bad, like the reason we would call chocolate just a net neutral right now is because there are people and or because there's nobody guiding chocolate, right? There aren't people. I've said there are people because there aren't people guiding chocolate. There's no guy pulling the strings on chocolate right now, going like, and now we are making a chocolate empire, right? There's very much somebody doing that with social media, right? And I think this is, like we discussed that the closest solution to is social media as it exists, a net negative or a net positive, right? And I said the closest conclusion I think we'll come to is that social media just is, right? The reason I hate that conclusion, though, is because it infers that social media is a force of nature, right? And I think we should examine why social media is not a force of nature. There's like a very concentrated group of people who are pulling the strings on that. Like, the joke I just made about like there's no chocolate emperor being like, this is where we're going to guide chocolate to next. There quite literally are social media emperors who are guiding social media to where it goes to next. And those people are very much making conscious decisions. And this is a large blanket statement, right? But it's one that's, I think, fairly acceptable by a lot of people. I think many people would agree with this. Most of the things that are negative about social media, the reason we're even discussing if it's a net positive or a net negative, instead of just going like, yeah, no, this is a really cool place to share stuff, right? The reason we're even discussing that is because these guys usually be attached to decisions, so these guys can just make loads of money, right? Like, you ever see The Social Network, like that kind of stuff, right? And I think for that reason, I think the answer to this question on a functional level, right? If the conclusion we're going to come to on a thought level is that like it's a net neutral or like it just is, I think on a functional level, the conclusion I want to come to is, okay, we could make it a net positive though. Like it's totally in our power. Like I said, chocolate industry, thousands of years old. Too late to really like go like make chocolate the perfect thing right now, right? We're 20 years, we're 20 into social media, guys. Like it is not too late. We're already aware enough to go like, okay, this is the direction we're taking the social media shit. We could regulate it. We could not regulate it in that dumb way of like, oh, we're gonna make you upload your driver's license to use this website now. No, regulate it in the way of like, we're not gonna make the algorithm a constant death machine that gives you mental tummy aches and makes you writhe around on your floor because you're depressed now. Like, we can do that. That's just in our power, right? And that is why I think this conversation, treating social media as a force of nature, is a bad and unproductive one. Because it pretends that's not in our power. When we surrender something, when we surrender an idea, like social media, to being a force of nature, what we do is we kind of surrender power from ourselves, right? We go, there is no proactive thing we can do for this. There's nothing we can do to prevent this hurricane that's coming. We need to just react to it. We need to figure out, a hurricane just is a thing that happens. We need to figure out how we can get back on our feet right after. It's treating social media like a force of nature, as it's starting to be treated, does the same exact thing, right? Social media is just gonna be, you're gonna doom scroll, you're gonna feel terrible. Let's figure out what we can do about it. Let's give you a new dumbass block that is marketed towards making you feel better, right? I saw this thing that was like the person who figures out the way to solve doom scrolling is gonna be a trillionaire. We know who can solve doom scrolling. It's not a startup that's going to come out of Silicon Valley. It's regulation, so we don't all feel like this, right? When they were selling cigarettes, we didn't go like, man, let's figure out how we can, like, let's just figure out if we could just maybe like make an anti-cigarette and sell them that. Like, let's just sell them like a thing that like takes the smoke out of their lungs. No, we were like, let's not do cigarettes. Let's regulate cigarettes, right? Sure, maybe will the doom scrolling on TikTok be less engaging? Maybe. Totally plausible. But like, we can solve this. It's totally in our powers if we actually have people who know the algorithms, look at these algorithms, and go, okay, so this is the way things are gonna go. Like, we don't need to make these, like, let's not mince any words here. We're just gonna make sure things go in the right direction. That makes way more sense to me. Like, I feel like that's probably the answer. Like, is social media net negative or net positive? I don't know. I don't know where it stands right now. I think it just is, right? But we have the ability to make it a net positive. And let's do that. Like, let's do that thing. Let's 100% do that. This is the painting. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I have no thoughts. I feel like I wasted all my dialogue. I wasted all my character limit was wasted on the whole tangent today. So go check this out on the TikTok and the Instagram. Until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint Talk episode 279. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.